Adaptation in plants. Learning objectives. Adaptation. Plants that grow on land. Plants that grow in water. Plants that grow in marshy places and seacoasts. Non-green plants. Insectivorous plants. Plants grow almost everywhere on the earth. Some plants grow on land while some grow in water. Some plants grow in hot deserts while some in cold regions. There are plants that climb up and others that creep on the ground. Conditions of environment affect plant life, including the types of soil, the amount of water available, temperature, amount of light, amount of rainfall and direction of wind in a place. Plants in different atmosphere. Plants on mountain. Plants on land. Plants in desert. Plants in water. Adaptation. Adaptation is very essential for living beings to survive in atmosphere or surrounding. Otherwise, it dies. The special features that help a plant to live in a particular area or habitat is known as its adaptation. Since for a very long period, generation by generation plants live in an area and make necessary structural and habitual change, they do not adapt any immediate change of habitat. We will study about various kinds of adaptation by plants in different habitat and surrounding. Plants that grow on land. In the desert. The desert is very dry and often hot area. There is a lot of direct sunlight on the plants. There is very little water as it rains very rarely. The soil is often sandy or rocky and unable to hold much water. Yet plants live and survive. Their roots are adapted to get whatever water is available. Plants like cactus have long roots that spread out or go deep into the ground to absorb water. Or small season leaves that only grow after it rains. The lack of leaves helps to reduce water loss during photosynthesis. Photosynthesis occurs in leafless plants in their green stems. Some plants store water in their stems or leaves, called succulents. In Thar Desert, you can see plants like khejri, babul, cactus and honey tree. Khejri, cactus, honey tree, babul. At the cold mountain. The mountain environment is very harsh for plants to grow. The trees that grow at the mountains have to survive the cold and snowfall. They have cones, called conifers. The leaves of these trees are needle-like and are waxy to prevent drying out. Pine, cedar and fir are conifers. They keep their leaves throughout the year. They are also known as evergreen trees. Many mountainous trees like oak, maple, birch and beech shed their leaves in winter to protect themselves from cold. They are called deciduous trees. Pine, oak, fir. Special body shape helps plants to get sunlight from very high point, from ground, and allows snow to slide down its surface. Similarly, needle-like leaves stop unnecessary evaporation of water from its surface and shade of snow. At the plain. Plants that grow in the plains have many branches and wide leaves to capture light. Plants like banyan, peepal and mango grow in the warmer climate of the plain. Plants like teak, tamarind, rubber, coconut, pepper, tea, coffee and sugarcane grow well in hot and wet places. These are the best situation for vegetation to grow. Tamarind, peepal, sugarcane. Plants that grow in water. Plants growing in water are called aquatic plants. There are three kinds of aquatic plants: floating, fixed and underwater, submerged. Floating plants. Free-floating plants such as hyacinth and duckweed are very light and float on the surface of water. They are floating plants. Their bodies are like a sponge which is filled with air, making their bodies light enough to float. Water hyacinth. Duckweed. Fixed plants. Fixed floating plants such as water lily and lotus have roots that fix the plants in the mud at the bottom of the pond. They are called fixed plants. They have plate-like leaves that float on top of the water. The leaves have stomata only on the upper surface to help the plants breathe. Their hollow, flexible and light stems help the leaves to float. Water lily, lotus, submerged plants. Some plants like hydrilla and tape grass live completely underwater. They are called submerged or underwater plants. They absorb water, nutrients and dissolved gases through the leaves directly from the water. Their roots are fixed to the muddy soil. Their stems are flexible and have air spaces. They have narrow, thin leaves with no stomata. Hydrilla, tape grass. Plants that grow in marshy places and seacoasts. In marshy places, these places have clayey soil and plenty of water mixed together. Mangrove trees grow in such marshy places. The roots cannot get air in the soil. They have special roots out of the soil to breathe and survive. Mangrove trees. On seacoast. Near the coast, there are coconut, rubber trees and palm trees. These plants can survive in salty water. Coastal areas are hot and wet and underground water is available in these areas. Coconut tree. Palm tree. Sci facts: some desert plants are called succulents because they store water in their stems or leaves. Non-green plants. Some plants like yeast, mushrooms, mold and rust are not green. They do not use sunlight to produce starch, their food, by combining carbon dioxide with water. Such plants are called fungi. Mushrooms are also fungi. Fungi grow on other plants, dead animals or plants, or on stale food and also get their food from these. Mushrooms. Insectivorous plants. Carnivorous plants usually live in nitrogen-poor soils. To get the minerals, they trap and eat insects. Pitcher plant and Venus flytrap are carnivorous plants. Pitcher plant. The pitcher plant leaves look like a long tube. The inside of the tubular-shaped leaf is lined with downward printing hairs. This tube produces sugary nectar and insects are attracted. When insects are drawn inside this tube, these hairs block insects from climbing up the tube and escaping. Digestive enzymes then break down the insect, making nutrients available to the plant. Pitcher plant. Venus flytrap. The leaves of a Venus flytrap resemble an open trap. The leaf is folded into two halves. When insects land on the leaves, the two halves close and the insect is trapped. The leaves secrete a digestive enzyme that breaks down the insect, releasing nutrients that are then absorbed by the plant. Venus flytrap. Summary. The special features that help a plant to live in a particular area or habitat is known as adaptation. Plants that grow on land are cactus in the desert, pine in the mountain, and tamarind in the plain. Plants that grow in water are floating plants, fixed plants and underwater plants. Plants that grow near the sea coast are mangrove tree, coconut tree and palm tree. Some plants like yeast, mushrooms, mold and rust are not green. Keywords: tape grass, wild celery, also known as eelgrass. Marshy place, soft, muddy and watery area.